well is I think a lot of directors, it's really difficult to kind of make like a pure action movie, and I think a lot of people sort of chase that, and it's really difficult to just keep the ball in the air. And there are some films that I think do that really well. I think, George Miller's Mad Max Fury Road is like an excellent example of like, how can you make a car chase for the whole movie? How is that even possible? It was very, very difficult, and I tried to do those things myself. It's like, and this is one of those films that I think manages it, and it's kind of just really an incredible piece of work, and insane photography all the way through.
Yeah, by the great John Alonzo.
Yeah, who then a couple of years later shot Chinatown. It's like just and Richard Safarian.
Sarafian.
Yeah. You're asking to screw that up. He sort of said that he considered John Alonzo, the DP, as an equal partner in this.
Mm-hmm. What about the music soundtrack of this film?
Well, there's something Baby Driver, that movie was sort of conceived with like the music and the visuals together. I kind of feel like I have the action movie version of synesthesia, that I would listen to songs and imagine the car chase to go with it. But I remember watching this film, there's something that happens in this film where a car chase sequence is going on so long that one song finishes and another starts. Oh, wow. And it always kind of really struck me. I think it's one of the songs called Freedom of Expression. And like it finishes and then another one starts, and I was like, okay, that's badass. It's a two song sequence. So that was something that really stuck with me. And actually, I've driven. We were just talking. I've driven across the states. I drove from New York to LA once on my own, and kind of went from New York to Southwest, and then went across. Basically, just tried to chase Route 66 all the way back to LA, and sort of took 10 days doing it, and it was amazing. Although I will say that the most bummer part of it was coming back into Los Angeles, because all your dreams of Jack Kerouac disappear when you hit Inland Empire. And it's just one kind of in and out after another.
Yeah.
So when you traveled across America, you probably took Interstate 40, but in this film, Vanishing Point, there's several sequences that are shot on what looks to be a construction of an interstate, and in fact it is. It's Interstate 70 that goes from Denver all the way into Idaho and I guess into Nevada and California, and so it's kind of an interesting time capsule of seeing this construction of one of the most beautiful stretches of road throughout the United States. Is that road that stretched between Denver and I think Rapid City or Grand Junction, Colorado. So you have actually also programmed an entire festival of car chase movies. What is it about car chase movies in general that kind of captures your interest and just your fascination?
I guess it's just like pure cinema. I guess it sort of goes back to the sort of silent movies. I mean, to name check George Miller again, I think Fury Road was an attempt to sort of like do The General as an action movie, and I think it's just like car chases. I mean, they're very hard to do. It's kind of like hard to come up with something that's kind of that you haven't seen before. This film does it. And it was in kind of like, as we were saying, like a boom of those movies, and also Easy Rider wasn't a car chase action movie, but there are lots of elements of that are in this. I don't know. I think sort of like it's I have having done them, I have so much more even more respect than I already did, because I know how hard they are to do. And it was interesting, we were talking actually, the crew on this is kind of fascinating, because
Carrie Lofton.
Carrie Lofton, who was the stunt supervisor on Bullet, but then the also part of the team is Bill Hinkman.
That's right.
Who is in Bullet, who's the guy chasing Bullet, and also he's in the 7-Ups as well. And he's sort of the driver that you frequently see on screen. So once you recognize Bill Hinkman as an actor, stuntman, you know that some shit's gonna go down, and there's gonna be some like burning tires any second. He's also kind of got a fascinating history. He was also present at James Dean's crash.
That's right.
Because he was best friends with James Dean, and he was in the other car, so he saw his friend die. So he was present at the crash.
Yeah, Hickman says that he actually held Dean as he took his last breath. And it just sort of haunted him all of these years. Going back to Kerry Lofton, though, I mean, he's a stunt driver extraordinaire who popped up in several movies, not only in Bullet, but he also was the truck driver in Steven Spielberg's 1971 made-for-TV movie Duel. That's Kerry Lofton, and he's also driving the 1971 Dodge Challenger throughout most of Vanishing Point. And he, went on to make the car chases in Running Scared, 1986. And also Against All Odds, 1984. There's a stretch of Sunset Boulevard where Kerry Lofton at age 68 was running a Ferrari, doubling Jeff Bridges in Against All Odds for 1984.
I don't think I that sequence I cannot imagine that ever happening now.
Yeah.
I think usually when you see a great car chase in a movie, it's also usually so dangerous to do that it never gets done ever again. Somebody watches the movie and says, "Okay, don't let them do that again."
Yeah, and something you said that occurred to me is that you said it's really difficult to shoot a car chase, and one of the ways that I've always imagined why that is because it's so hard to make it interesting and to sustain interest within the overall narrative. You look at a film like Gone in 60 Seconds from 1974. It's a very low budget film. The entire movie is one long car chase.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's tedious because there's very little tension in that film, whereas Vanishing Point, I think, really manages that tension very, very well between too much and just enough.
Also, it's it can't be overstated how great Barry Newman is in the film.
Of course,
and,
yes.
that he as Kowalski just kind of and also he's doing a lot of the driving as well. There are obviously shots, and this is obviously way before CGI. Is like there's no I mean, not to throw any shade at Vin Diesel, but I heard that Vin Diesel can't actually drive. And I'm not kidding. So he's very much sitting at a green screen with his steering wheel. Barry Newman, as you'll see in this film, is doing a lot of that driving, which is kind of, especially when you got a helicopter next to you, is no joke.
Oh, absolutely! I'm so glad you brought that up because helicopters are so dangerous.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're integrating them into a car chase, and you see that a little bit in Vanishing Point. You see it a lot in Dirty Mary Crazy Larry.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's a whole other element as well. Yeah.
Probably the most abrupt bummer ending of all time. One thing I'll tell you one story from Baby Driver just in terms of how hard car chases are to do. So we were shooting, I should know this, what's the main freeway in
Interstate 20.
Interstate 20 in Atlanta?
What you mean? What you shot Baby Driver?
85.
85.
85.
Yes.
We're on the 8. You're not supposed to say that. That's very Californian. We were on I-85. When you say the 85, they're like, so LA. Sorry. We're on the I-85, and there's that only chase on the freeway. And to do that stuff, you couldn't close the freeway, but what you could have was called the bubble, where you had a motorcade of police cars that are basically keeping an area of the freeway, about 2 miles of it, where you've got your camera cars, and you've got your picture cars, and you're shooting everything. So basically what the police cars are doing is kind of slowing up any traffic either side. And we were allowed to shoot, we ended up doing a second day, but we were allowed to shoot from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. I think we had to stop, it was a Sunday, you had to stop because there was a game and people needed to get to church. But we were on the freeway for that amount of time. And my friend, the comedian actor Kumail Nanjiani, was making a movie in Atlanta at the same time. And on the Atlanta radio stations, they had gone on saying if you're experiencing any traffic delays today, it's the filming of it's the Sony movie Baby Driver. So they were sort of called us out on the radio. And whilst I was shooting the scene, we'd finished the take, and then you had to loop back. You had to 45 minutes to get back to square one and start again. So you only got 4 takes of it in that time. You had to go all the way back, loop back. And I remember getting a text from Kumail, and it just said, "Are you shooting on the freeway today?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "All of Atlanta hates you." It is a hell of a text to get whilst you're actually filming. We should. There's a couple of other things in this film for people that haven't seen. I'm sure all the people is that the car itself, the white 1971 Dodge Challenger, obviously became very famous. Like Quentin Tarantino, like in the movie Death Proof, part of Grindhouse, like they have the car in the movie. In fact, they buy the car because it is the car from Vanishing Point, and Quentin Tarantino owns that car as well. So that was something. It's also, if there's any Primal Scream fans in the house, one of their albums is called Vanishing Point, and there's a song called Kowalski. So it's just like his spirit, like in the movie, continues to loom large.
There's by the way, there is a 1997 TV remake of this film with Viggo Mortensen. I can't recommend it, but it might be worth a look just out of curiosity. But
it's a special treat. We're going to put it on right afterwards. Keep going until 4 a.m., guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, I could not imagine a better person to talk about this movie with than Edgar Wright. Let's see